controls. No problem. Pee on it. Lock on throws. That don't get no more non-typical. You got to think outside the box. You're not going to find that on your smartphone. But anyhow, we're in the gate. Other words, we'd bust the key off. But you got what, 98.7 degree temperature. Just went on to that lock. Warmed it right up. It's locked. I'm going to throw it in the van and let it dry out. Here we are. The 18th of January. About 30 degrees, 25, with a big snowstorm headed this way. Now what's got us down here just in front of this midwinter snowstorm coming, and it is the 18th, so December 22nd was the first day of winter, so it's almost a full month into winter. And we're going to do an audit on our food plot, attempts to see what we still have remained after the season closed. Actually, the season closed a week ago. It would have been closed yesterday, and today's Friday, so it's been closed for an entire week down there in southern Iowa. And so we're going to go up on top and check out the results and see how our annuals fared through the hunting season, and if we have any left over going into the winter for a food source for all wildlife. But before we do that, I'd like to give a special thanks to one of my subscribers, John T. Buck, out of upstate New York. He put this really nice hardback book together, and for some reason he felt motivated to put my name in it with his writings, and it appears to me that him and his buddy, two retired policemen, got into the food plotting endeavor and have had a lot of fun. And once again, I'd like to give special thanks to John T. Buck for this magnificent gift. And this is what it's all about, helping one another. And it's not about me and FaceTime on TV. It's about helping fellow hunters out. And this is priceless. To have a book sent to you like that, and like I say, with your name in print. But thank you a lot, John, and best of luck in your food plot endeavors. Let's get up on top and get this audit done, because I don't want to get locked down here, because it's going to have some heavy snow here. As you notice, there's a lot of deer beds in the snow, bedding up on south-facing slopes in out of the wind. It's almost time to start shed antler hunting, but it's going to be delayed a while with the snow and more snow to come. But there are quite a few beds in here on the south-facing slope as we go up to the food plot. Heavily ran trails too. But anyhow, we'll get on up here. These trails have really been used, and keep in mind that's only a week's worth of usage on there. There's something of interest. I don't know what's going on here. A lot of pawing and foraging. That pile of leaves right there came from my front yard, and it's silver maple leaves. And softwood leaves, I don't have any trees like that down here on the property. But I hauled that load of leaves down and just dumped them out. Just get them out of the front yard up home. And by God, as you can tell, they've been drawn to them for some reason or the other. They really packed in there, uncovered them, really tore the heck out of them. So they must be foraging on them. That's something I'd never expect. They've had real close to the food source to conserve energy. And that's one thing in the late season. If you do have a situation like that, it's really hard to get to a food plot because of the beds and the proximity. There's the food plot, what's left of them, and here are the beds. Now, you're going to have to be real stealthy if the deer are bedded that close to them, so keep that in mind. Lots of urine on the trail right there. They went down this trail just peeing all the way. Oh, the things you get to see. So much more than just killing in and out for a week and gloating about your successes. Hunting is 365. Like I said, I just learned something. If it had a heavy snow and a deer bedded here, you're going to have to hunt farther away because you'd never get in here without spooking them. But like I say, beds and the roof, oh man, they really concentrated up in here. Pee and poop. And like I say, we're within 50 yards of the food source. So, hey, we're conserving energy. Let's get up here and see what our results of our efforts will remain. Well, this area that we're looking at right here, this was planted. I think I had some winter greens in there. And see, has been quite a bit of falling out, and they've been eating those turnips. Boy, you can see they've been foraging on them with the amount of tracks and the holes that are dug in the snow. So, well, I mean, they ate that turnip or clear off. My efforts have been paid. The cornfield. Wow. This is what I wanted to see. This cornfield was in excellent shape. And now as I venture down here, man, very few deer tracks. This has been devastated. But that's what it was for. And man, there's 4 acres of corn here. And they've really put the hammer on it. And I noticed they haven't been actually very few deer tracks in here. Oh, that's what we're up here for, is to see what remains, because like I say, the season just closed last week. And man, they really put the smack down. I was up in here last week looking for that arrow in my tab, and I didn't give this much notice. But this end of this cornfield, I mean, cob after cob. I mean, it's been completely, this whole area has been gleaned, which is good. I won't have to pick corn out here, but boy, with that major storm coming in, sub-zero temperatures, just amazing, the grazing pressure that went on up here. And like I said, I have 4 acres of corn planted, and this is going to be unbelievable. Unreal. Here's some fresher corn. Okay, now we're getting back into where. Now, okay, this is a relief. Yeah, we're getting back into pretty good corn now. Oh yeah. This is what I wanted to see. That's what we're doing today. We still have plenty of corn. And I see the new corn being deposited on the ground. And that's what I'm up here for, take you along. Boy, we still got a lot of good corn up here. Well, and the deer have been in here just recently too. You could tell from that one area there weren't even hardly any deer tracks there. And now we're in an area where it's cob after cob after cob, and lots and lots of grazing pressure. That's a good. That's really a plus. I mean, you know, you're going to have consumption of this corn by the coons and the deer, and then whatever little critter is left over that gets the fall. But at least we still got good corn. Oh boy, I mean, they put a hurt on that one end down there. And one nice thing about having standing corn or crops like this, it's so much superior than having a bait pile dumped on the ground. As you can see, these cobs down here on the ground, they're consumed. Now, the deer that consume them, or whatever, have moved on. They're not going to continue to keep coming back to that same source day after day after day. Oh, here's an interesting spot. This is where we did that little hand work and tore off all those weeds and planted that no plow. And boy, they got in here. You can see they've ate some greenery off of it. They did pretty good in that. Lots of tracks in here. So there's a lot of deer benefiting from your labor. And it's like I keep saying, don't plant kill plots per se. That's so juvenile. You're trying to help all wildlife. Here we're over here to that hedge apple tree that always gets a tremendous growth of hedge apples. And you can see the manure, the consumption, just a tremendous amount of foraging that went on those hedge apples. Basically every hedge apple out there is gone. That's something to keep in mind in land management. If you can avoid taking those hedge trees out, they are a natural food source. Oh boy, I just see some deer off in the distance running. There was quite a group of them running. I didn't really want to do that, but they'll be back. This area right here is where we had the soybeans, and then we put the forage oats and some tall tine tubers mixed in the 38-inch row. We cultivated them out and left the beans, and you can still see they've been foraging in there on the tubers. And so that's something that I'm really going to make sure I get done, because that was like having two crops in one. And with the foraging that's went on out here on this stuff, you can see in the snow, it's pretty well eaten to the ground, but they're still pawing it out. It's pretty neat. This area here that you're looking at now that has a few paw spots in it, that was your beets and greens area. And it's for most part depleted. And there again, that's what it was for. But we still have standing corn as a food source. And you can see some of the remnants of the beets and greens where they pawed them up. And so they've been out here, even with the snow cover on, they're still able to paw through that snow on the beets and greens and obtain a food source. It's really neat to take you along. Because like I say, food plots are not just for killing a deer over. Food plots are to sustain life for the whole ecosystem in your area. Now this was, up here, was the wintergreen area. And you can see where the deer basically consumed the majority of it, but yet they're still pawing through and finding, as you can see, they've got them nipped off right to the ground. So they keep producing even though they're under the snow. They're still a sustainable food source. Now here we are on our alpha rack, and there's been, as you can see, even though it's a perennial and it's buried under the snow, the deer have still found nutrition. They've dug it up, and like I say, this is alpha rack with chicory, and they've you can see all the different spots that they've dug in that field. Even though there's nothing on top, they've still found nutrition underneath that snow. That's just amazing. And so your food plots are still producing a food source on January 18th. So our efforts on the corn with the 4 acres and the consumption of the deer herd in this area has held up pretty well. The fawns, new drop, should benefit from it. The health of the bucks that made it through should benefit from it. And the does, when they're making milk for the fawns, definitely ought to benefit from it. So, like I said, it's always questionable how much you have to plant. But a variety, and we've seen a perennial, the alpha rack, it still was being consumed. We've seen brassicas in the form of tall tine tubers, wintergreens, and beets and greens, and they're still being pawed out. And let's venture over here to the ag soybean. A picture's worth 1,000 words. These soybeans have been hit, and they've been hit hard. And that's a good thing. I mean, I'm glad they've been consumed. But with a 38-inch row, that reduced your bushels per acre. But I had to fight with water hemp, and I won that. So I got that somewhat under control. But they did, as you look at these beans stalks, they've really been consumed. Just a month ago, those beans were beans from the top to the bottom of that stalk. But that's what you plant them for. But I didn't plant enough, but they did their purpose. But this is the first year where the beans have been completely consumed, and there's still a few pods, well, they're empty, but that for the most part you'd be hard pressed to find a bean pod with a bean in it, because these are really super good crop of beans too. It's really good to take you along to show you the results of this, because I showed you this beans all summer and how many beans were per stalk, and they were 36 inches tall beans from the ground up. But they served their purpose late winter, but they're completely gone now. Here's the consumption of the bean pods off the thornwood tree. You can see where they're being dug out and consumed. The deer spent some considerable time. That's another natural food source that a lot of people overlook. Most of them knock down their thornwood tree, and they produce, as you can see, there's been a lot of deer activity here eating this bean pod. Now, that may look like jerky to most of us, but the deer find nutrition in them, and just another natural food source. And there's some remains of a wintergreen. And you can see they've been up in here with quite a bit pollen, and there's a unique thing about those wintergreens. And you can see where they pawed that out, and it's still green. So if they want to expend the energy, they can paw that out. And let's just see. I'm going to paw out right here and see if I can find a green. I know that right there. Right there. It took very little effort to paw that out. And there's a green source right there. It just kicked that snow off. So even though the human eye may not see food source, it doesn't take the nose of a whitetail to know what's underneath that snow, and very little effort to uncover it. Well, that's going to put a wrap up here on the audit of the annual food plot, with the corn, the soybeans, and the brassica types. So let's venture down and see what our clover plot looks like. From a field of green to a field of white.